Welcome to Friday night's video and our second Masters series. This is the third video in our second Masters series. And tonight we're going to talk about probably the most important tools you have and going to try to give you some input and some direction because basically, when we get to the point that we're really trying to become like a virtuoso master audio engineer, that it's obviously that it's not overlooked, but a lot of people will look at it and not think about it too deeply. Is there the basic tools they have? The basic tools you have, first of all, your eyes. Take really good care of your eyes. If you need to wear glasses, wear glasses. Use eye drops. Keep them clean. Same thing with your ears. Keep them clean. Once a week I clean out my ears with warm water and da 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 da. Really take care of them. It's going to help you a lot. Now, your eyes are obviously using your eyes when you're working, and really understanding your tools well is very important, being able to focus on things. But for the most part, most engineers and, people working in music productions, their biggest tools are their ears. So, this is a really hard subject. So, the concept here is that, how do you refine that? It's not like a piece of software that you can pull up on your computer and go, oh, my ears, and then I need to adjust this and do that and look at that. No, 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 no. Researching about your hearing is a good thing. Understanding how you hear, how your ear perceives sound and all kinds of things like that is something you should get into and look into. Second of all, some of the biggest advice I can give for you to really get to the next level of being a master virtuoso, master audio engineer is mastering your listening abilities. So this might sound funny, but I really recommend you get a bunch of productions, some good productions, maybe movie score stuff, big pop productions, stuff that you're into, different genres or whatever, and really sit down in your studio, bring them into your DAW, and, sit and listen. Does that make sense? Really listen with your monitors and your earphones, your headphones, and really work on listening well so that you can really hear the difference of things going on. You're not trying to listen to things from the point of just enjoying the music. You're trying to pick the music apart, listening to the whole production and really listen to the kick drum and then the snare drum and the bass, and the backing vocals and the guitar and the pad synth in the background, da 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 da, and on and on and on. And being able to pull them out of the mix while you're listening to really precisely tune yourself into hearing little nuances that are happening with them and really being able to finally target your listening abilities and being able to stay focused on what you're trying to listen to. Does that make sense? By really focusing on certain aspects of mix, what's going on with there? What's happening there? With your understanding of things we've talked about so far in the last Master Series, and as you get better, what is going on there? What are you hearing? What are you hearing as far as reverb, as far as delays, as far as, spatialization and, the stereo field and the spectral field and, where they're at, as far as placing the instruments, getting things in their place, front to back, and, off to what side and things like that. And really being able to pick apart a mix and listening attentively and accurately about what's going on because it's some of the biggest tools you've got. Now, at first, you just immersing yourself in it, dragging those songs into your DAW and using your studio to really pick things apart and really listen well and learn to listen well is normally the first thing. Just get used to listening to good music and what's going on there. How loud do those things sound? Where are things? All the things we talked about in the last Master Series and things that are coming up in this Master Series to really pick things apart and go be able to understand what you're hearing. Does that make sense? And the differences between this song and this production and that production, how they did things different, how the kick drum sounds different, the bass sounds different, the snare sounds different, the vocals sounds different, the da 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 da, to really fine tune your listening abilities. And I know that sounds funny, but as you get done doing it, you immerse yourself in it for a while and really listen to what's going on. And it's you will if after you really kind of immerse yourself in it, you want to start picking them apart. You really want to sit down and you're really into Beyonce's and Taylor Swift's this song or something, and you're into that genre and that's the stuff you want to produce right now. It's just got you all fired up. Yeah, dude, that's why I'm here. That's cool. Pick it apart. Pick it apart from the ground up. What's going on way in the background? What is that? They've got pad synths. They've got how things sound. How close forward do they sound? What da 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 da. I mean, really listen to what's going on with the bass. Is it going like that all the way through the production? Does it fade out in certain parts and it's louder in other parts, or is it and did they change the stereo field and move things around in different sections? And da 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 da. Pick the whole production apart and really get used to listening well, because the more you do that, you pick apart not only just the production itself, trying to listen to what they did, but picking apart the instruments themselves, what they did in different sections, how they were accompanying the different sections, how they mixed them to complement the mix so that they were part of the mix, but other things weren't riding on top of other things and sitting where they should be for that production to make it sound as good as you like it, you know what I'm saying? Or as good as it can sound, and you really getting used to hearing that and picking it apart, what's going on with the snare drum. How loud is it in comparison to the guitar or the bass or the vocals or, the pad synth? I mean, you're going to listen to that whole snare drum through that whole production and really listening intently. Does that make sense? And as you do that, analyzing it, pull out all your analysis tools and really listen to what's going on and analyzing what's happening, in the stereo field, the spectral field, and just, immersing yourself in it. Does that make sense? It's a huge part of it, because as you really get used to doing that and you sit down and go, okay, I really need to do this, and you make it something you're going to do, like you're going to spend so much time really doing this, and focus on doing that it's going to help you immensely. Because as you do that it's going to help you to hear things that sound that were a good job or done for the most part. Does that make sense? So, you really got to pick good productions and things you really like, to hear what's going on that's got you fired up, that wants you to do that, unless you're just, an engineer, and it's like, no, I does Bob the reggae person, and next week it's Tim the country boy. Then you're going to have to immerse yourself in a whole lot of different instruments and a whole lot of different types of genres and all kinds of stuff. It makes it a little more time consuming, but it's what you need to do, because as you analyze those and you learn to listen well, that you will really, it will help take you to that next level, because you're actually looking at your listening abilities and your ability to hear a good mix and be able to pick apart a good mix and hear why it's a good mix will help you take it to the next level. That way, that later on when you get your own mix done and then you start putting it against reference tracks, which I always recommend you do to hear what's going on. You get done with your bass tracks and you want to put it against reference tracks. How does that bass sound in that production? Does it sound something like that? Da, 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 da. And then again, after you get it mixed in with everything else, how does it sound? Does it sound different? What's changed? Da, 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 da. It'll really help you, because you've really kind of learned how to listen well and pick apart a good mix of what's happening with it, so that when you're doing all these things we talked about in the last Master Series and in this Master Series coming up, that you're going to, hopefully, it should push you up really close to you're going to go into the next level, because as you start listening to it and as you start comparing your stuff to what's going on, you'll be able to hear it. You'll be like, no, I really want it to sound something like that song that I really like, but not exactly. And now that I've gotten it mixed together and I'm listening to it, and I'm really picking apart where it's at in the mix, how it was mixed, what was done to it, and, every aspect of it, of its place in the mix, that you've really seriously listened intently to and listened accurately and, picked it apart well, that, you're going to try to bring that in your next mix. First of all, it's going to get you used to hearing a good mix, and as you pick it apart, then it'll make more sense, because then you've really picked apart those mixes and it's making more sense to you. So when you go into your production, that it makes more sense why things are happening and where you set things and what you do to things and da 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 da. And when you have issues, you go back. What the heck was going on in, Taylor Swift's song there that it's kind of like that, kind of, but I really like that, what they were doing in there, and that's kind of what I was kind of emulating. What's different there? What sounds different? I listen to my stuff, their stuff, my stuff, change my stuff, and listen to back and forth. It helps you fine tune what you're doing, so that you may not just emulate anybody, but the more you do of that, that it's helping you target. So you're listening to all these different productions from these different producers and bands. Not only that, but when you go reference things that you're going, well, I've got these 10 reference tracks or 15 reference tracks or whatever, and it's like, not like that. I don't want my bass like that one, or not exactly like that one, but not exactly like that one, but kind of like that one, but not exactly like that one, and more like that, and bam, you get finer targeted productions happening, because then it helps you fine tune what you're trying to do, because you're listening to different things and understanding what's happening and the difference in the sound, and it really helps you to fine tune what you're trying to do. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, yeah, now I understand. No, I need to do that a little bit with EQ, or add a little more reverb, or I need to make dirty that up a little bit, or I need to I want to stereo widen that a little bit, or no, I want that to go more mono or off to the left or whatever, and really helping fine target what you're trying to do and understanding what they're trying to do, so that they're all lessons to you as an engineer. They really are. Some productions I'll listen to, I'll go, that's a really good production. I'm not really into that song. I'm just not. I don't wear pink all over my body and chew a big old wad of bubble gum, and I'm not really into that stuff. No offense to nobody, but I'm not trying to be comical, but there's been a few songs I heard that I just, I wouldn't be playing it all day. It's just not my thing, but it's a great production. They did a really good job. The song was well written. The engineers did a really good job. The band did a real good job. It's a good production, worth picking apart, because it is good. It basically, for the most part, is good music and a good production. Whether or not I'm really into that genre or whatever's going on there, or that thing happening, that it's a good production, and you pick it apart, and you go, wow, that's cool. Good job on that. Nice job on that. Yeah, dude. Oh, yeah. And I can use that somewhere else. Just because it came out of Bob's country song doesn't mean you can't use it on your heavy metal song somewhere, or in your big pop production, or in your movie score, or wherever, that it can be something cool and you're learning from. Does that make sense? Because, sometimes a lot of people put a lot of money into there, and they're really, making sure that it came out, good. Does that make sense? Where you might not have that, pressure. You know what I'm saying? So it can help you learn a lot. And also, it's a refining thing, because it's probably the most important tools that you have is your ears and your ability to listen well and analyze well, and to pull things out of the mix while you're listening and to hear what's going on. And to be able to copy that and to be able to make it a little bit differently for the way you want it to sound. So your production is a little bit different, but not so different that it sucks. You know what I'm saying? That it's like, you can only be so different with a bass before it just sucks, bro. That's just a fact. I'm sorry. I don't want to pick on nobody, but does that make sense? I'm not trying to be funny, but it's true. I've heard some mixes, I was like, man, I don't know, bro. It's like that, and you need some help with that, but, most of the time it's because a lot of times they haven't spent the time listening, so that, they do as good a job on those individual tracks as possible, but when they bring them into the mix, that they're referencing, and they're really used to listening well and going, well, my bass is missing that. That's what I'm missing. I've referenced against 4 or 5 different tracks, and I don't really like any of them exactly, but it's closer to that one, not as close to that one, closer to that one, but not as close to that one, bam! That's exactly what I want. Somewhere in between there, a little bit kind of like all those. It's a huge thing. So I really recommend you sit down and really focus on honing your listening abilities. It's one of the biggest things that will really help you become that next level virtuoso master audio engineer in all those aspects of why you should hone your listening abilities to do a really good job and to know you're doing a really good job. So peace, hope, love. I hope you enjoyed this third video, and I will see you in the next video.